there's a petition on Rob Manfred's desk to allow Pete Rose back into baseball. And it was submitted on January 8th. And it is in the process of, is it or won't it get approved? What do you guys think?
I mean, I would love to see a Pete Rose plaque in Cooperstown one day. Mm-hmm. But I feel like this is just the first hurdle in a long series of hurdles that'll need to be passed to get him in. Because it's still up to the Hall, even if Manfred does lift the ban on Pete, then it's up to the Hall's consideration to put him on the ballot. And what ballot does he get put on, the standard one or the Veterans Committee? But it's nice that there's dialogue going on to get Pete where he belongs.
I agree. He should be there for the stuff that he did on the field. I get it.
There's a lot of assholes in the Hall of Fame.
There's a lot of assholes, but there aren't. I don't know of any other guys who are in the Baseball Hall of Fame who traveled with a 14, 15, and 16-year-old girl across state lines.
Well, yeah, but they were just better at hiding it.
Yeah, they didn't have social media.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
I don't think Pete did either. But.
Weird thing, Pete was the first guy to tweet, in 1955. Before anybody. So he had it. But yeah, 14-year-old girl now is just sitting next to Pete on a plane, just look who I'm with, not Grandpa. So, you're right with the hurdles. Chris, what do you think?
No comment.
No, smart.
Yeah. We want to keep this thing together.
Exactly. No, obviously, the numbers that he provides, as well as just the enthusiasm that he had for the game, is something that's undeniable. It just feels like if you're talking, he had a lot of static between him and the people that are in charge of letting him in. Mm-hmm. Do I think he's going to be in? I think eventually he will be, but I still think it might take a while.
Okay, I agree with you, because the biggest problem with Pete Rose getting into the Hall of Fame was Pete Rose himself.
Correct.
Right. Everyone knows that when it was Hall of Fame weekend in Cooperstown, guess who was down the street signing jerseys and baseballs and everything, you should be in the Hall, and profiting off of him not being there for the mistakes that he made off the field. And that's a big so if you're a part of Cooperstown and you're a part of the committee that dealt with that for 30 plus years, mm-hmm. You think you're going to want to play nice posthumously?
No, you're not going to be oh, who should we let in? All that dickhead that used to sell merch outside of our stores mm-hmm. Every year? No, that guy, he was an ass to people. So, but that's the thing that they're combating. That's what they're dealing with. The numbers versus the person, essentially.
Sure. I think it's going to take another generation.
Well, if it's up to the Veterans Committee, I could see him getting voted in by the players, by his colleagues.
I agree.
But if he's on the standard ballot and it's the writers choosing, it won't be first ballot. I guarantee that.
Yeah, because what were you saying about the rules and how it would go? Since he was banned from the game, it would basically take him back to square one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it could be even if Manfred lifts the ban, it's still up to the Hall of Fame to put him on the ballot.
Yeah.
And how that would look, if he would go straight to the Veterans Committee or if he gets put on the standard ballot. So, yeah, I mean, we'll hear a lot more about it coming up, but I think it's pretty dubious if Manfred even allows the ban to be lifted in the first place.
Yeah, that is pretty dubious. If you've watched the documentary about Pete Rose that came out on Max, and they show Pete going back to Philly, and that was the instance where he called the reporter babe,
yeah,
and then cursed in the booth on live TV, and then watching those writers deal with that, combined with how he was with writers over those years and the media. I don't know if you can even call it an uphill battle.
Yeah.
I think you're just walking into a wall.
I would have to agree.
And an additional thing, too, is something else to consider is what happens after Pete Rose gets let in, because that could open up another conversation of like, okay, this person has numbers, but they have X, Y, and Z going against them as far as like a personality thing, because ultimately you do want to have in an ideal situation like this hall to be a pristine spot where just the most unblemished, greatest players exist. But Pete Rose, he's a mixed bag.
Well, that's not. I don't know if it's pristine and unblemished. I mean, there's guys who were suspected of steroid use that are in there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of my favorite players growing up, Pudge Rodriguez.
Yeah. But it's ideally,
Piazza's in there.
yeah.
There are guys.
Mm-hmm.
David Ortiz, supposedly.
Yeah.
Is Ty Cobb in there? I can't remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Thomas
that's
Wagner, famed racist.
yeah.
Who like murdered a black guy in an alley.
Yeah.
Or was that Ty Cobb?
Ty Cobb.
Probably both.
Ty
both,
Cobb
yeah.
beat up a black person in the stands, I'm pretty sure, during a baseball game. Because he said, no. It was. I'm sorry. Excuse me. It was not a black person. It was a handicapped person that he beat up in the stands. Because he called him a certain. Well, you know what? We'll have to go to the Patreon to explain why. But yeah, Ty Cobb is definitely for sure tainted it. But I think like the ideal thing they want to have is just like this unblemished sort of thing for the Hall of Fame. Of course, it isn't. But the thing is, Pete Rose pissed off continuously the people that control who gets let in.
Right. And when you said the veterans 100% getting in, you don't hear anyone now, like even Terry talking about like Pete Rose, ultimate professional, best teammate ever had.
Yeah.
Mike Schmidt, best teammate ever had. Like everyone down the line was like, Pete was a great manager, Pete was a great teammate, Pete was a great friend. So he would just like get in almost unanimous.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's what Bonds and Clemens are going to have to wait for, because they have this similar problem. I mean, they were shitheads to the media for their entire careers. And then you see steroids players with, significantly less stats getting a much higher percentage of the vote, while Bonds and Clemens are just like hanging on because they were dickheads, and the writers remember.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's up to them.
And you also see Roger being more friendly to modern media. He's
Yeah.
doing a lot more podcasts, pops in on MLB Network. Doesn't deal with like the institutional media folks,
Yeah.
which that he pissed off for years.
Bonds is starting to get back in there. Sosa's finally back with the Cubs doing stuff.
Dude,
so.
how cool is it to see him in the dugout and then like every prospect just like fix my swing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's just like, do this and don't sneeze.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you. I think it's going to be a long uphill battle. I don't think this is something that's going to be resolved. I don't even think in the next 2 years.
No.
So no matter how like you feel about the human, it is just so much that's going to happen and fall into place for this to go on. So we'll see, man.
Yeah.
It's just something to follow. And with Pete being, one of the greatest Reds of all time on the field, it'll be interesting to watch and follow.
Yeah, I feel confident we'll be talking about it again eventually.
Yeah, hopefully not sooner.
Yeah, we got other stuff to cover.
We have so much to talk